because I don't think my career in acting in the arts died at all. Like, I don't think I ever put it to rest. I think it's probably coming back at some point.
It always comes back.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of feeds into some of those skills.
Yes.
But I do think eventually I'm going to go on stage for something again.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are, for sure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Sounds of Health. We are trying another focus topic episode with our good friend Sarah Caliendo, and we're so excited to have her back on the show. As you all know, if you've been listening to Sounds of Health, every week we like to highlight incredible people and resources that are out there to help others to improve their physical, emotional, and financial well-being. Sarah's been on the show a couple of times, so we've heard her story, and we've talked about a number of topics through the interviews, but we wanted to bring her back again because Sarah is a professionally certified executive and well-being coach, a cycling instructor, and a mental health advocate. So her expertise really fits with what we do here on Sounds of Health. She specializes in helping leaders be successful in and out of work without burnout, which is something that so many people these days struggle with. So today's topic is going to be around losing identity and reinventing yourself in retirement and out of retirement, because we haven't gotten to that point yet. So I'm sure a lot of our experiences will come up in this conversation. Mm-hmm. But why don't you start us off with our topic today, Sarah?
Yeah, well, it's on my mind for a lot of reasons. One is we actually just recorded an episode about the sandwich generation and sort of what it feels like to be someone in middle age who has has kids and has parents that are aging, and what that experience is like. And we talked a little bit about my mom's medical issues, and luckily she's okay now, but she had a stroke and some brain bleeding and all these other things going on. And I was thinking a lot about what led to her physical health issues, and I don't know if she'd agree with this. I want to talk to her about this. I don't know if she would agree with this, but someone from the outside, on the outside, what I think about a lot is how my mom was extremely passionate about being a nurse. She was a nurse for over 30 years. She was a cardiothoracic nurse at Yale. She was extremely good at what she did. She had a deep community. Nursing was like the identity.
Yeah.
And I think for at least my parents and their generation, I'm curious to know how you feel about it, but retirement is a thing that you definitively do. And what we don't talk about a ton is what happens when you lose the person you were for 30 years.
If your identity
is tied to your career. And what happened for my mom, I would say, is she lost a lot of those roots, the community, the service to others, the, challenge to do different things every day and solve complex challenges.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot about, for my own self and my own life, and I think about it a lot for my clients who go through a lot of reinvention and career pivots, is how important it is to continuously reinvent, find new ways of being, make new discoveries about yourself.
Yeah.
And that this process is normal and natural and perpetual. And, it's like you don't wake up one day, become your career, have this identity, and then everything comes to an end. It's cyclical, and it's an ongoing process. So that's what's been on my mind a lot, and how, for me personally, how important it is. One, I actually am not going to retire, or at least I don't plan to completely stop working.
Yeah, sure.
In some capacity, just because I think it keeps me fresh and learning. But yeah, just my parents' experience, both medically and with their careers, has got me thinking a lot about it. And just a lot of the coaching work I do with my own clients does tend to center around who am I now that I checked all the boxes. I'm the senior leader in the company, and I got everything I wanted, and I'm making all this amazing money,
right.
And I'm a young parent, but at the end of the day, I'm going through existential crisis and I don't actually know who I am and what I want and what will make me happy.
Yeah.
And I've been through, like a ton of career pivots and like reinvention myself. So
Sure.
I personally relate.
Yeah, this is something that I think about a lot too, because people come to us at Nutmeg Insurance Advisors usually when they're about to retire to talk about Medicare.
Yes.
And so we help people with that transition. And so I see a lot of people going into retirement, and everybody's different, right? Some people really take to it and they have a plan in place and they've been working toward it and they're going to stay active and they have more hobbies and interests than what their career allowed them to have, or that they are going to reinvent themselves. I think there's a generational difference too, though, because I always say I'm never going to retire either. Like I probably won't be able to. Two, I want to be active and working.
Yeah.
But I think back to my parents' generation, our parents' generation, and the fact that they were in a career and in a job for 30, 40 years. I've been in multiple careers already in my life. I've never been in. So my career was very rarely a piece of my identity, right? Whereas for that generation, it probably was more of who they were because every day of their life, they were in that job. They were with those people. So I don't know, maybe you have a different viewpoint on this, but then when you retire in that situation, you are completely reinventing your life, and you have to change your identity.
Yes.
You're not going to see those people every day anymore.
No.
Whereas I'm more used to that because I've been through a number of transitions already, and I know people my age, the same thing. Very few of our peers have been in the same career since getting out of college. They've had a few pivots. They've had a few reinventions already.
Can I jump in really quickly?
Please.
I want to be the third person here in the conversation that says they're probably never going to retire. So I just want to say this. We do a lot of planning for retirement, for the future, for what could happen. We're in an insurance business. That's the industry that we're in. But what if we just never retire? Like, what if we just never, took that variable out? And it's kind of freeing, and it kind of takes a lot of the stress away to just to say that, and I'm not sure if that's what we're doing when we say, I'm never going to retire, or if there is some realism to it or not, because there is so much uncertainty, but we've I don't know if we're building up walls or defensiveness when we're saying that. But I just want to frame some of the conversation when we say things like that.
There, sure. There is a lot of pressure, I think, that does come from this notion that we have to retire and be done with this chapter.
Yes.
Or we have to earn a certain, amount of money by X time.
Right.
The way I think about like the concept of not retiring, I mean, finances are important. Yeah. Especially I'm a single parent, and that weighs on me, I would say, like making sure that, my kids are okay and I'm okay. But I think about how I don't know, like the idea of constant learning has made just a huge impact on my life, or this ability to try new things and not be so wed to like one particular path. I think that that has developed a resiliency that I want to continue through the years, and has, I don't know, just it serves you well when you're able to try something new that you didn't think you were able to do,
right?
Turn a page that you didn't think you were able to turn and start something new. There's just like a lot of self-confidence and contentment, but also just like you learn things you just would never expect when you have an uncharted path. I'm curious to hear like why, from your perspective, you were able to pivot so frequently or so easily. I don't know if you'd use the word easily to describe it.
I don't think it was easy. But it was something that I don't know why, but I always felt like I wanted to challenge myself. So I always felt like it was an opportunity to reinvent myself and to change. Yeah. And I just, when it became hard is when I had kids. Yes. Because then I had people that were depending on me. So actually going into Medicare from what I was doing in nonprofit. That was the scarier moment for me. Then going independent and starting my own business, that was a bit scarier.
Yeah.
But I, obviously I still did it, so it's a matter of here's what it is.
Yeah.
It's curiosity. It's wanting to always learn new things and accepting the fact that I don't need to know everything and that I can just take a chance and I can find my way. And it's a little harder when you have people depending on you, for sure.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean it's impossible, and it doesn't mean it should stop you.
That's right. Yeah, that's interesting. To Jason's point and what you're saying, the financial component, and I think also the kids, I think can often get in our way
Definitely.
of self-rediscovery and reinvention. Or it is a factor, right? Like it's a part of life, right? Like there's just decisions that I'm like, even right now, I'm going through a pivot myself. I'm still continuing to do executive coaching, but I'm trying to go back and work in-house somewhere in tech as an operator and leader, because I'm responsible for these 2 kids as a single parent. And so that is weighing on me, right? So it does factor in, but I do think that, to your point, like there are ways of testing, staying curious, experimenting while, holding the fort. And I think often people struggle to find that gray area or that balance in between the two, right? It's either I'm either like running off and starting my own business, or I'm like, stuck where I am. Right. So yeah, I think as humans, it's normal to kind of struggle to find the gray area in between, but it is possible.
Definitely.
It is.
Yeah. And, like we were saying before, I think when you approach retirement, it's just one of those moments in life too, where you feel things ending, this career that you've had, it's an end. And I think it's the people who, have a sense of it being a new beginning that do the best with it, and that they stay the healthiest. Yeah. I know my mom, like she was busier in retirement than she was in her career. And she was a busy working mom all her life. But because what she did was she was truly curious and interested in other people. She was very involved in all the grandchildren's life. She didn't miss a game or anything, a competition or a time on stage, nothing. She wanted to be there for all of it. And she also maintained friend groups and book clubs and all of those things because legitimately she's curious about life and she doesn't want to stop learning.
Yes.
And I think that's something that it's important to develop for yourself because there is so much out there to constantly, like, I actually hope that I will retire someday and that I'll have the time to get back to the arts.
Yes.
Like learn how to paint or I actually picture myself learning how to paint.
Yeah.
Because I did a little bit of that in college, but then I got away from it.
I think the last episode that we talked about, we talked a lot about things in crisis. And yes, you can have life choices where we're pushed into a different career path. Things happen differently than we expect. But very often in something that we've all experienced, you can make your own life choices when in choosing a career and what you want to do. And it's actually truly empowering that you have that. And giving that up and just saying retirement, I'm done making that choice. I don't have that control. I don't have that power anymore. That's a difficult thing to come to terms with.
Yeah.
You're losing that control of your life, that power.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I think one of the most empowering thoughts that I've had, recently or over the last, I'd say several years is that, okay, like I can go back to school if I eventually want to go become a therapist.
Yeah.
I'll go and back to grad school and become a therapist at some point. I remember a time where I thought to myself, ooh, I'm old, too old. And it's too late for me to go back and, go to business school or something. And, years ago, this was the way of thinking. And now it's really empowering to know, you can go back to the arts, you can paint, your life does not stop when you retire and that your life is not over.
Yeah,
there are
so true.
Iterations of yourself, seasonality to, who you are, who you become. And that's truly never too late to try new things and become, someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Harrison Ford is like my favorite actor of all time.
Yeah.
And very recently he was quoted as saying that he's never going to retire because he knows they need old people too.
Yeah.
You know, and he's actually talk about a reinvention,
Yes.
him on Shrinking.
Oh my
like
God.
He's starting to get these roles that are so different than the things he's done in the past.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like I actually hope that I get a chance to act again as an old man, you know, like get back on stage then.
That is such a, I mean, almost like revolutionary way of thinking
Yeah.
too, because I remember being in college or post-college and being like, oh, I have to look a certain way. And like, I only have these 5 years.
Right.
And if I don't make it, I'm screwed. And now I think to myself, like you, I'm like, I'll go audition to be like the old woman on Broadway.
Right,
and like,
exactly.
how many like 70-year-old, like fantastic singer actors are there out there? Like, I have a chance, you know?
Exactly. It's so
That's
true.
exciting to me.
You grow into a different type of role. And
Yes.
maybe there's more opportunity then.
Yes.
You know, it's never over. And that's kind of the point, right? Is that you can develop new skills your entire life. You can develop new interests your entire
Yes.
life. You can reinvent yourself and develop these healthy habits and live longer and enjoy your life.
And
Yes.
we have to acknowledge this. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't lose value as we age.
Right.
People think that they're older, you know, they can't compete with younger people. They can't, you know, they're aged out of life, you know, and we have to stop thinking that as a framing for what we do.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I love the idea that I could coach and be more valuable when I'm 60, 70 to executives and leaders, you know, or even just as like a well-being coach to people, that experience is important and valued, you know, as I get older.
Sure.
It takes a lot of like the pressure off of me personally, like how I think about career, you know? And I agree. I agree with what you're saying, Jason. I think it's important to not be ageist.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's you
know?
have value no matter what age you are. Sometimes it grows with age.
It's
and-
true.
Yeah.
And it takes practice.
Yeah, and
It
a lot of it's
definitely
just
does,
acknowledging those pitfalls, you know, those problems that people fall into, whether it's bias or whether it's just how tradition has been, you know, just acknowledging and being aware of those pitfalls that we encounter.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that people are always focused on when they're approaching retirement is their finances, right?
Yes.
You need to have a plan. You need to make sure you don't run out of money before you run out of life. I mean, and that's very important.
Yes.
But I don't know how many people actually sit down and think about designing the life they want to live.
That's right.
And I'm actually guilty of this in mind. I don't think I've ever stepped back and done, I mean, I know it's a little hokey, but like a vision board.
It's
or,
not hokey.
You know, something like setting
works.
those. Yeah, it does. That's what I've been told.
It's science.
I don't think I've ever stepped back and been like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And I think that's also important. That's a really important part as you're approaching retirement, I would think, is to put that, like, dream big, like,
Yes.
you know, inspire yourself to kind of get there.
Yeah, I agree. I would say if I were to tell people like what are the 3 or 4 things outside of their finances they should be thinking about in terms of the next chapter or reinvention, it's making sure you give yourself time and space to grieve the experience and identity that you have had for so long. Celebrate it, grieve it, however you need to.
Yeah.
Develop your vision for, you know, what are my core values this chapter? Where do I see myself? Who am I with? How do I want to feel this chapter? And then you can start to reverse engineer, how do I make that happen? And if there was like a third thing I would think about in terms of reinvention, I mean, we've already covered like it's really important to experiment and try new things and stretch yourself to learn like on an ongoing basis. But the social component is instrumental. Like there's a loneliness epidemic, and we continue to, in this age of being extremely connected in a lot of ways, we continue to move apart socially. Being in community and support with other people, either going through the same experience or even just staying connected with peers, friends, or putting yourself out there and making new adult friends is so critical to reinvention. You need the support system. I can't say that enough. And it's really hard as an adult at any stage to make friends. You need to do it as an adult. It's like the time you need it most, I think.
Yeah.
So
That's so true.
there's like the financial wellness part of it, but there's so many other parts of reinvention and opening up a new chapter.
Right. That's a great point. We saw that with COVID, especially, is that there was this loneliness portion. You know, a lot of my clients who were shut in and away from their families and didn't have a lot of contact. That's really dangerous. And that's something that we're still trying to get back for people. And it's not easy. I mean, people, you know, for some people, it is not easy to be social.
That's right.
To go out there and, like you said, put yourself out there and meet new people. But man, is it important.
It is.
You know, and if you're going to kind of lead with a curious mind, or I love the concept of a beginner's mindset, like approaching everything in a way that a child would, and just, you know, allowing it to kind of take shape and form and see, do I like this? Do I not? You know, and being curious about it. I think that's something that I think can really help people. Yeah,
be curious about the process, not the outcomes. Be like more interested and curious about what you'll discover, the process of discovery in meeting new people or whatever it is, versus having like a set expectation or outcome in mind is very, very helpful.
I agree. So it's being more of a social explorer. And being willing to get out of your comfort zone socially, being able to communicate differently. Because I know we all get into our own headspaces, we own our own communication patterns. You know, some people only text. Some people never pick up the phone, for example. Some people only send emails, or someone is on Facebook, but they're not on Messenger, or you know, they won't actually meet people in person when they're with friends or something along those lines. But we have to acknowledge that we have to get out of those comfort zones.
It's true.
Especially if we're going to go into a new situation.
And the more we avoid, the more difficult it gets. I mean, we want to avoid, I say pain, but it's perceived pain and anxiety, right? And, you know, the more you avoid those experiences, the more difficult it is to connect.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, live a life of, you know, health and contentment. And so the more you stretch yourself out of your comfort zone, the better, really. Yeah, that isolation has a compounding effect. 100%. It gets harder and harder to break it. Yes. Yeah. Harder and harder. And yeah, I mean, I would say I'm extremely extroverted. It's like I want to talk to everyone. I struggle with it sometimes too, you know, like, do I really want to go? I think I'm an introvert by nature. Are you really? I am. I think I'm still the shy kid that I was when you know I was 15 years old. Yeah. But that I've developed a skill set that helps me to be social. Yeah. And I do have genuine curiosity. Like, I really am interested in other people and other experiences and learning and doing all of those things. So that's definitely a big part of who I am. And, you know. Yeah. So that kind of helps when it's not about you and it's about something else. Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, you know, you could start small, you know, you can interact with strangers. I know it sounds silly, but it's, you know, again, from like an evidence-based perspective, like social interaction is social interaction. Yeah. And like having, you know, like a positive energy exchange or just like a light exchange with a stranger that you wouldn't normally have helps you build the muscle to get comfortable and do it in, you know, larger settings. I think it's also true that a lot of who we are is who we surround ourselves with. So yes. I think that's part of why, point. You know, the social is so important, because you do need other people. Like, we are meant to be social creatures. Mm-hmm. So you want to surround yourself with people who you admire and are going to help make you better. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And there's all sorts of communities and groups out there virtually or in person, you know, going through similar experiences or with similar interests, or like, you know, find a thing that you like or you're interested in and you will naturally connect and make friends over time. My sister plays on a kickball league. I don't know if I told you this, but she fractured her femur. I don't think you did. Playing kickball. Oh, no. I didn't know kickball was a contact sport. Okay, well, someone slid into her and like she has a metal rod and screws it holding her, you know, hip and femur together now. Yeah. But anyway, it's just like I'm in awe of that whole group of people because of the community they've built. And my sister and my brother-in-law have such depth and community and social support here in Connecticut from joining a kickball league.
That's awesome.
So I'm just saying, and they're they're mid 30s, so
Yeah.
it's not easy to make new friends at this time,
Right.
or older.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So getting back to the topic of life stages and choices and
Yeah.
roles, how do we know that something has completed its course? How do we know that it's time to switch?
That is such a good question. Okay. So there's a few scenarios I'd say. One is when it happens to you and you have no choice. Oh, hi, there's a child coming in here.
We're having a guest.
Speaking of reinvention,
Right.
we have a special guest.
Hello.
We have 2 children, Mia and Mari.
How
You
are
want to
ya?
say hello during our podcast episode? We're talking about.
Hello.
You want to know what we're talking about? Yeah.
We're talking about reinvention.
We're talking about reinvention, and Jason asked an excellent question, which was, how do we know when it's when something has run its course or it's time to leave or reinvent ourselves and try something new? Do you have any thoughts or insights on that? Like a job, a career,
When
or
you're,
friends?
When you're feeling you're not you don't like it, and you're like, it's not what you really want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have some other side thing that you like.
Okay.
You'll probably get a feeling about it when you need to.
You have a feeling about it? Where's where's the feeling? Is that in your body, or is it like an emotion you're feeling, or what do you mean you get a feeling?
Somewhere that pops up into your brain that makes you have this feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
This isn't what I want to do.
Intuition, I would say, is to not to be ignored. Like if
Yeah.
you feel like resistance to the thing, if you feel bored by the thing, if the decision is made for you, unfortunately, I think is another scenario that's happened to me
that it's
before.
made for you, yeah.
Right.
If I'm bored of math, should I quit?
No. That is such a great question because, right, like there's so many possibilities, right? Like this is all I will say is if you're questioning it, it's time to examine and ask yourself, am I like, why am I having these thoughts and feelings? Why am I thinking it might be time to, depart?
Right.
It's a period of inquiry.
Out?
Yeah. You going out?
Speaking of departing,
They're departing.
They're departing.
Bye,
Will you
girls.
close the door? Bye.
Thanks for stopping by.
Mars, will you close it? Thank you, honey. Bye. Yeah, I mean, I think I will say lots of people, myself included, ignore the feeling, the intuition, saying something is amiss. Once you can identify something is amiss, that is the time of self-inquiry, I would say. Mm-hmm. Why might I be feeling, that this work is stale, or it's time to move on, or I need to, move on to something else? It could always be a number of things, right? Like, is it burnout? Am I working too hard? Do I not have enough balance in other aspects of my life? Am I feeling stifled? Like, it's really just a time to ask yourself a lot of questions. But I will say, most of the time, like with myself and with like almost all of my clients, there is like an intuitive sense that it's time to move on. And it just takes a significant amount of time to like develop the courage and clarity to like accept it and find the new path.
Yeah, because change isn't easy.
Change is not
there's usually
easy.
an element of fear associated with taking that risk.
There is. It's like, I was talking to a client today about this actually. I forgot the phrase, but it's something like the pain in the present has to be greater than the fear of the unknown in order to make the change.
Yeah.
And that's often why people wait for like a complete rock bottom or for the decision to be made for them to make the change. That happens a lot. I mean, sometimes our bodies make the decision for us, right? Like I went through burnout.
Right.
That was like, I had to make a change when that happened, as an example.
and there's also a lot of self-acknowledgement and analysis that you have to do in order to make the change. So you have to come to terms that maybe this wasn't the best choice for me. And then, of course, your head goes into space, well, did I fail at this? Or did I learn? Am I growing? So there's a lot of self-analysis that has to be done. And for me personally, it's kind of like, do I want to perform that work? You know, because even that is work, you know?
Yeah, do I want to? And because it's also like, once you do, there's no going back, right? Like you can't unsee or unhear the thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's like once,
that is true,
and then you're
yeah.
accountable to do something about it. Right.
Right.
That can be scary. And so, as a coach, we say like, we're ready when we're ready, or like, the pain, like I said, like the pain of today is so unbearable that we have to make the change and do the inquiry. But yeah, it's a really courageous thing, I would say, to examine and like ask yourself why if the decision isn't made for me, like why am I feeling this way, and why might I evaluate a change or a pivot?
Yeah. I think people have always said that you want to make a list in that instance, right? Of the pros and the cons. And like write down those things, and then maybe that helps to guide you. But I think there is an intuition. You have to listen to yourself.
There's a somatic element to this, I would say, for sure. Because I will say that like 90% of my clients on paper have gone through all the activities of the pros and the cons, and these are people that are extremely logical and methodical and have really thought through what the options are, but something is still keeping them stuck.
Yeah.
And we really have to come back to the body and what our body is telling us, what the intuition is telling us, and listen closely, because we often want to run from it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It reminds me of our time at Circle in the Square. Oh. And Jason and I have brought up Ken Schatz before on the podcast. But that movement class and connecting movement to the development of character and the emotional life and all of that, like that was eye-opening for me. And it's something that I think I've used and kind of used as a tool throughout everything that I've done.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, I will just say that we have a tendency to ignore our bodies, to push through.
Absolutely.
It's also, I think, if you're someone who suffers from anxiety, and I don't even mean like clinical anxiety, but if you're someone who feels anxiety, like anyone does when it comes to like making decisions, or of course you're going to feel like it's healthy to have anxiety, but it can also be difficult to know the difference between what are like normal, like anxious nerves, and what is like my body saying like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
I need something different. Like we ignore that a lot. We ignore that a lot.
Yeah, or we don't connect it.
Or we don't connect
like what's
it.
happening in our body. We don't connect to what we're experiencing or what we're thinking.
That's right.
Yeah.
What are the thoughts, coming? What are the emotions, and what are the sensations in our body and intensity that might inform what's going on?
There is almost the cliche that men generally ignore their bodies and their emotions purposely. But that's just either societal or to save face, but that it's almost that trained or learned masculinity could actually hurt us, often in order to change, in order to go to the next step or next stage or something new. We have to get out of that framing. I'm curious every single time, and I have this discussion with friends, of just put yourself in the opposite role. And as we're talking about active empathy, putting yourself in the non-gendered specific role, just as someone that would be the other side. So I just encourage everyone, if they have the opportunity to do that in scenario, even a normal scenario, it's something that you're doing normally, just take that opportunity to think that.
Yeah. And I think, if you're struggling with something mentally or emotionally, doing something physical, like something, exercise or go for a walk or something, can impact those things.
Definitely.
And I think also vice versa. Like when you're dealing with a challenge physically, that thinking and putting yourself in another mindset, or that also can help the physical life as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, when you are going through some sort of transition or shift, it's important to work in the physical world. You want to have like what I would call like a sort of a holistic or balanced exploration. There's like the physical, the movement, there's the emotional part, there's the creative brain, the intellect. You want to flex a bunch of different muscles, just to like tap into as many facets of well-being and curiosity as you possibly can.
Yeah.
But I would say the body is often neglected is not the right word. It's just like we're not as connected to our bodies and what it's informing about where we are and where we need to be going.
Yeah, we're not understanding the message.
We're just not connecting the dots.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree with that.
And I agree. I mean, a lot of it's conditioning.
Yeah.
Jason, you know?
For sure.
So it's a lot of like unlearning and like taking baby steps.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, this has been another fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like it can go on forever.
I
but
know.
We're going to try
So
and keep these to a certain time limit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you again, Sarah, for being here today.
Yeah,
and
of
I
course.
think I know I got a lot out of this conversation. Hopefully our audience does as well.
Yeah.
And we would love to have you continuing these topics with us. We'll come up with a creative name eventually for these episodes.
I know you will.
Yeah. So thank you again for being
my
here.
pleasure.
And thank all of you out there for listening to Sounds of Health every week. We try to highlight these stories and resources that are out there for you that help you to improve your physical, emotional, and financial well-being. So please continue to join us every week. Like, subscribe, share a review. We love to hear from you. We hope that you will continue as an important part of our wellness community. This is Sounds of Health. I'm your host, Dave MacNiven. We're produced by Jason Carubia with music by Rob Hames. And we record every week at the offices of Nutmeg Advisory Group. We are brought to you by Nutmeg Insurance Advisors. And we hope to see you next week. Thank you so much.